All right, well, we'll hear the feedback in a second. There we go. We are finally live on LinkedIn. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Louis Balla, partner from NSAW, and I'll be moderating today's session. Today, we're diving into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, or as everybody likes to call it, NSAW, and why it's becoming increasingly important for NetSuite users who need more than basic operational reporting. At its core, NSAW is a cloud-based business intelligence platform built specifically for NetSuite. It works alongside Oracle Analytics Cloud and combines the power of Oracle Autonomous Database Warehouse, Oracle Analytics Cloud, and a native NetSuite data pipeline, all in one unified platform designed to deliver sharper, faster insights from your NetSuite data. But here's the reality we see across most NetSuite environments. Many organizations successfully go live on NetSuite, yet their historical data stays behind in legacy applications and systems. Great Plains, QuickBooks, to name a couple of the culprits. But teams continue exporting that data, stitching spreadsheets, which I think is a pretty common theme, and manually reconciling numbers every time leadership asks for the full picture. I think as everybody's aware, that's not a scalable solution, and it's definitely not why companies invest in NetSuite. While NetSuite native reporting works well for day-to-day operational needs, there's a lot coming with NetSuite Next, which we're super excited for. Growing businesses often require something a little bit more flexible, more scalable, and more insight-driven, and that's exactly where NSAW steps in. What makes NSAW particularly powerful is that it is purpose-built for NetSuite transaction data. It supports custom data without heavy coding. It includes embedded connectors for external sources, and it provides pre-built dashboards across finance, sales, inventory, procurement, and a whole lot more, many of which we are ready to use from day one. The result is faster time to value, often a 6x faster than traditional BI project ROI, and the ability to move from static reporting to fully true data-driven decision-making. Today, rather than boring you with a sales guy like myself, we're going to talk to one of the pros. We're going to be walking through what it actually looks like in a real environment. I'm joined with Principal Consultant Usama Niamatola, who has helped dozens of NUWASH clients unify their historical and live data from NetSuite. Usama, before we jump into the demo, would you mind giving a quick introduction, quick preview of what we'll be walking through today?
Absolutely, yeah. Great to meet everybody. I'm Usama. I'm going to be walking through NSAW today. So what I'll be going through is the overview of the platform, maybe showing you some of its AI capabilities, and then also showing you how to combine historical data with data coming from NetSuite, so you can actually have that insight of year over year, quarter over quarter that you're kind of missing when you first go live in NetSuite.
All right. Well, without further ado, you want to pop up your screen and we'll get started?
Yeah, sounds great. All right. So the first thing I want to address is, what is NetSuite Analytics Warehouse? I know, Louis, you just covered it on what it really does, but the main differentiating factor between regular NetSuite reports and NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is the last part of that word there, is that it's actually a warehouse. So you can store multiple different types of data into NSAW. You can have your historical data in here. You can have pipelines to other systems such as Salesforce, Shopify, maybe even some of your own databases in the background. You can have all of those connected into this data warehouse, and then use those connections to bring in information to create workbooks. So as an example over here, I'm on the home dashboard of the NSAW. What I can see here is something I might want to see at a glance. For example, something that might be new that's been created recently, maybe some of my favorites, maybe some workbooks that are pre-built out of the box. So you can see there's a couple of the pre-built workbooks over here, and then a bunch of the data sets that I have involved here as well. So one thing you'll notice is that I actually only have a couple of these that are data sets and workbooks that I created myself. The rest of them are out of the box. They come straight from NetSuite based off of best practices and everything that NetSuite knows people want to take a look at. So maybe if you have support and case incidents, you have a dashboard to look at that. Maybe you want to look at your vendor returns, you have a dashboard to look at that as well. But this is what the home screen looks like. There's also the actual data center itself, where I can go in here, and that shows me all of my different data sets. So data sets would be all the different data sources that I have. For example, it could be sales orders, invoices, purchase orders, prepayments, work breakdown structures, and stuff like that, and also anything else that you might want to upload as well. So for example, some of your historical data you can have uploaded directly into NSAW. But down here, you can see this is what Louis was mentioning about all of the pre-built connectors that bring in NetSuite information directly into the warehouse. And it's based off of your process areas here. So you have your vendor bills, vendor bill credits, you have your timesheets even, your revenue arrangements, your purchase orders, and so on and so forth, getting you all the information that you want from NetSuite directly in here without you having to do a thing. All you have to do is turn the system on, and it brings all of this information over.
And Usama, before we get too much further in, what reporting gaps do you typically see with organizations who have successfully gone live with NetSuite and are looking to extend and go a step further? Why do I need NSAW?
The biggest thing I would say is the ability to see your historical data and also compare different data sets together within one. So biggest thing I've seen recently is actually budget versus actuals. So you can have budgets loaded in NetSuite, right? You have your native budgets tool in NetSuite. You can load budgets there. You can compare them to actuals. But when you go live, you don't really have a budget in there to start with. If you wanted to look at your budget versus actuals and year-over-year variance, you can do that in NSAW as well. So really the main common thing I see is anytime you want to look at data that doesn't directly exist in NetSuite, the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is a great tool to finally get that information and combine it with NetSuite data to get the actual insight that you're looking for. Okay. So this is where my data sets are. I also have something called a data flow, which is how you actually combine historical data with NetSuite data. But before I get into that, I want to talk through a little bit about how this works in the background. So as an example, I have a workbook over here that shows me my 2025 sales. It just shows me by month the amount I sold in that month. And then on the other side, I have another data set that shows me my 2026 sales. And we can assume in this case, the 2025 sales are from pre-NetSuite and 2026 sales are from post-NetSuite. So right now, obviously, they're going to be separated because you don't have a way to combine them. But when you use NetSuite's data flow capabilities, which is this data flow over here, you can use a function called union rows to actually combine two different data sets into one and adding the rows together. And what this does is it creates a new data set that actually combines your information together. So as you saw previously, your numbers previously were January of 19,000 and it ended at December. But now over here, you actually have your January 2026 and February 2026 numbers as well, all in one data set that you can actually do reporting and analysis off of. So
I don't want to call out the obvious, but typically organizations are currently exporting from legacy systems into spreadsheets and then into NetSuite. Can you walk through the risks or inefficiencies there and kind of harp on the one data set really quickly?
Yeah, so when you do have different data sets or you have stuff coming from your legacy system, the main real challenge is making sure that that legacy data is proper and it matches what NetSuite is showing today. So for example, if your legacy data had a customer ABC, but in NetSuite is ABC1, obviously you're not going to be able to combine them together because they're not the same in that sense. So when you are combining data sets together, one important thing to be aware of is that the data should be uniform between your prior system and NetSuite going forward. But another key risk actually would be that maybe you don't have proper columns set up. Maybe you have a completely different data structure from your previous system, which is something I've seen from, for example, Great Plains, is their date system is a little bit different than what NetSuite provides as its date system or period structure as well. So stuff like that you can actually do inside NSAW. As an example here, I do have my date here, but if I wanted to, I don't have to look at my date. I can actually look at specific periods within that date. So instead of having different periods, I can say maybe I just want to look at the month of year instead or the quarter of year instead. So that's really how you can get data combined together inside a data warehouse without having to mingle too much between the actual Excel file to get it there.
Right.
And then, one other thing that you were also talking about, it is actually very simple to upload data into NSAW as well. All you would go to create and then create data set, and you can actually just drag or drop a file in here and that creates the data set for you. So it's that simple to create, to upload data into NSAW. Now, as an example over here is where my combined workbook comes in. And the reason I might want to have a combined workbook of my historical sales plus my future sales is maybe I want to build some forecasts, right? So as an example, I have a forecast built over here that shows me what my line of best fit might look like for my sales going forward. I can see that it's trending down, but that also might be because my data is a bit seasonal. So what I can do here is maybe I can expand my forecast a little bit to see what it might look like in the future. Because right now I'm only looking 3 periods ahead. Maybe I want to look 10 periods ahead and see what that might look like. Let's see it all the way through to the completion of 2026. And there, NetSuite is using its AI tools and a forecasting model, a seasonal forecasting model to get your amount up based off of the data that's in there to forecast your future sales in this case. Another way to look at it, though, is you can also, again, using AI power tools, is right-click on amount and explain the amount here. And what that does is it shows you what this data characteristic is actually about. So it tells you what it's there and creates graphs for you to show you what it might look like. You can see most of my sales are between 0 to 1.5K, but then the next is from 13.5K to much higher. That would be one of the maybe if I like this visual, I can actually add it to my canvas by clicking this box here. It also shows me a bit more information over here as well. And again, this is all AI powered, so it brings all this information in from your data set. So you have how much you sell per month, per each day of the month. Maybe you have how much you sell per week. How many are currently in open, how many are paid in full, how many are in each currency, and stuff like that. So that's, again, all pulled in directly from the data set. I didn't have to do anything. All I'm clicking is explain this data set to me. And similar to this, actually, I can actually have NSAW generate insights for me. And what insights are is it takes a look at the data that's in your file and it recommends some visualizations to look at. So for example, over here, I might have my average amount by record. I can see what my average sale would be by the currency. So my average sale in British pound is 21,000. My average sale in Chinese yuan is 137,000. My average sale in US dollar is 5,000. And it's bringing all these insights out from the data itself without me having to probe it. It's just telling me this might be relevant information that you might be interested in. Another example would be maybe my monthly trend by average amount. It shows me what my average amount is going forward, and the trend line for that as well. And actually, the forecast of amount is something I got directly from this insight. It showed me the forecast from here, and I just dragged it and dropped it into the data set here. So all that to say, really, you can use a lot of the AI features to get some insights that you might not be aware of. But of course, you can create data sets yourself as well. So what I'll do now is I'll go into a pre-built dashboard that I configured based off of this data to kind of give you an idea of what this might look like. So as an example here, I have a bunch of different graphs and pie charts and even some tables put together over here to give you an idea of what you can build with NSAW and its reporting capabilities. For example, I can pull out my top 10 customers. It shows me what my top 10 customers are, the amount I won by quarter. So this shows me how my sales are looking per quarter, what my average order value is looking by quarter. So clearly, even though in Q4 2025 I sold more, my average order value in Q1 2026 is trending higher. So maybe Q1 2026 will be even higher than Q4 2025 was. I can also look at this sales amount by status and quarter as well. So if I wanted to take a look at how many invoices that are still not paid in full yet, but are still currently open, I can look at that based off this pie chart. And I also have, again, the amount by status here to look at open versus paid in full, and some additional details if I wanted to see over here as well, which shows me actually the exact transaction lines of that invoice. So all that to say, there is a lot of things I can do with this data over here. So for example, if I wanted to filter to show me my highest paying customer, I can click on this filter icon over here and then just click on my customer Abbott Inc. here. And that will update my information here to show me all of Abbott Inc. Let me switch back to Abbott Inc. here. So this, as an example, shows me all of the information now, fully filtered to show me everything by Abbott Inc. And I can see my average order value by Abbott Inc. And you can see that's all filtered in each one of these visualizations here. I have my how many invoices I've opened with them, how many invoices I had in the previous quarters, how many of them are open, what my average order value is, what my net order amount might be with them as well. And let's say instead I wanted to look at maybe for AR analysis, I wanted to see all my invoices that are currently not paid yet. How many are currently open? And if I click on that, I can filter by open, and I can see that Chatterpoint LLC has the biggest, I guess the biggest amount that's currently open at the moment. And maybe I take a look at this and I'm like, why do I have such a high balance that's currently open with them over here? What I can actually do here is I can go into this bar, I can drill to an attribute such as a date, and that'll show me at that point how many invoices I have open and which invoice at which date is actually the one that's open for the highest amount. So I can see this one down here for 2020, in February 2026, a $240,000 invoice is currently open with Chatterpoint LLC, which is why my top 10 open amount is this high. So obviously it's still February. They probably haven't had their terms come up yet, which is completely fine. They can pay their invoices when their terms are due. And if I wanted to go back to where things were previously, I can click on the undo button over here. It takes me back to where I was previously. I can click the undo button again to go back to the amount without any filters at all. So again, this shows me all of the information, and I can filter just based off of stuff like that.
So I do want to try to get to the first question here, Usama, from Stephen. The question is, could you comment on NSAW, specifically the data warehouse and pipeline, as compared to synchronizing data from a third-party application, as an example, via API, for continuing use of those third-party apps? Which is better and why?
That's a great question, actually. So I'm assuming what we're referring to here is using like a Suite Analytics Connect to connect to Power BI and stuff like that to get information out of NetSuite to Power BI and stuff like that. The main difference you'll get is one, that the connections inside NSAW are pre-built. So actually, I'll show an example here. If we go into a data set of, let's say, a vendor bill, all of this information here is pulled in from NetSuite using every single data source available, and you can join these to other tables inside NetSuite too. So if you wanted to do three-way matching, and you have really complex three-way matching, and NetSuite's not really doing the job for you with safe searches, you can bring that data into here and do actual three-way matching, combining data sets together and stuff like that. The other part of the question is the visualizations, I assume. So Power BI is not a data warehouse. So you need another tool there to connect Power BI to from NetSuite, and then source those data sets together inside Power BI to really get a year-over-year comparison of pre-NetSuite and post-NetSuite data. So while NSAW makes that really easy, in Power BI, you do have to have another server set up, maybe a data warehouse, or maybe you're using Microsoft Access or something like that on a local system to get it. But it's much, much easier inside NSAW.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's, like I was mentioning before, this example over here for sales insights is kind of like what you can kind of get from your sales historical data. Right now, we saw that NetSuite was only in Q1 2025, but I can go all the way back to the previous years to really see how my business was doing in the past, really create some reports, and get relevant information that I might need to really make informed decisions about my business. Okay. And Louis, question for you. As a person in sales yourself, what would you like to see? What kind of reports do you like to see inside your current sales?
Oh, I would love to see performance of my sales reps and forecast accuracy. Is wildly inaccurate in HubSpot.
Yeah, and I imagine that's the case in a lot of different. I'm assuming you guys have quotas, you have forecasts to meet, and
Okay.
there's a lot of deals that happen that aren't really updated in HubSpot, are they? There's Excel files, there's Slack messages and stuff like that all going around.
Wouldn't you believe it? Yeah.
Yeah, I would. And so the thing is that bringing all that data into one data warehouse is really how you can make all of those different informed decisions as well, right? So you have your HubSpot data, which you can connect into NSAW. You have your NetSuite actual sales data coming in. You can actually look at your proper pipeline how much you closed versus how much you actually sold and stuff like that. What your sales reps are looking like inside NetSuite compared to HubSpot as well, actual numbers versus projected. So you can get that inside a data warehouse such as NSAW as well. Okay. Is there any other questions? Any other questions that people might have about NSAW?
Don't think at this stage, but as they come in and as a reminder to the audience, there is a QR code on the top right. So if you do want a one-on-one demonstration, you would like to talk through NSAW or dive deeper into your unique requirements, click the QR code, it goes straight to booking a meeting with us, and we can schedule something pretty quickly. Sometimes people aren't emboldened to comment on LinkedIn. So all that data, I'm sure, is being sold to GPT and the rest. So I think we can keep going on.
Okay, sounds great. So the other thing I wanted to briefly mention also is the Auto Insights functionality for the Oracle Assistant itself. So Oracle Assistant is an AI-powered chatbot that can look at your data as well. It can bring some information about, or whatever you ask it, really, it can give you information on it. So as an example, let's say, when was my highest amount invoice recorded? So what it'll do here is it'll look at my data set. It'll look at what date my highest amount invoice would be. It's telling me that is as of 2026-02-01, which is February 1st. And just to fact check it, let's do that. Let's fact check the Oracle bot here. So we're looking at sales order details. And if I go to February 1st here, there is an easier way to do this. I'm just being a little bit lazy. Here's February 1st. We have two invoices over here. Or actually, we have more than two. Here we are. We have one for $240,000 and one for $439,000. So that's where the 201 comes from. We have $439,000, which Oracle Assistant is saying is my highest paid invoice, which is accurate. Let's say, as another example, how many invoices, or how much amount of my status is there in total? I completely butchered the English language here, but let's see here. The total amount of status open is 1.8 million, it's saying. And if I check over here, you can see that's accurate. My total amount open is 1.8 million. So other things you can do with the AI assistant is you can actually ask it to create a chart of this. So this is probably not a good use case of a chart. Let's ask it a different question. What are my top 5 customers? So this is going to show me my top 5 customers. Again, it's showing me my essentially this layout over here. I can change my chart type. If I don't like this bar, maybe I want to look at a horizontal stacked one instead. I can ask it to change it to that. I can add different variables. I can remove variables if I wanted to. For example, if I wanted to add a filter, if I wanted to add a field, if I want to add a field value, I can do all of that information here as well. So maybe as an example, I wanted to add currency to this. So now it's going to be able to, well, we actually don't have too much of the other currencies for these customers, looks like, which would make sense, because why would one customer order in USD compared to Chinese yuan? But you can remove additional stuff if you wanted to as well. Like if I wanted to remove currency from this, you certainly can. But basically, it's like your Claude, it's like your ChatGPT, but it's inside your NSAW instance, and it only looks at your data. So obviously, it does not go outside the database to get additional information, which means it also doesn't store your information outside of these databases as well. And it has that disclaimer up over here that assistant requests are always processed within a secure OCI environment. They're not going out of the system to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a nice distinction in that while this is machine learning, it's not utilizing the LLM,
Exactly.
which is then basing your analysis on a wide array of whatever people have put in there. It's based on your data, and I think that's one of the beauties of machine learning with respect to NSAW here.
Absolutely. And machine learning is definitely a topic we can get into in one of our future sessions as well. There's so much to cover on that. You can have models for machine learning. So as an example, you can create new machine learning models. You can have language models even. You can create functions. You can vision models and stuff like that. Really create it based off of your own variables to really get insight and forecasting into the future that is relevant only to your business and not to some other business that some other AI agents might use. Okay.
All right. Well, Sama, I really appreciate you showing the real environment today.
Of course.
We'll make sure this goes out to the wider audience, and we appreciate you all joining us. If your team is still manually stitching historical and live data together, finance is still the bottleneck for trusted reporting, or if you're simply not confident you're seeing the full picture in NetSuite, this is exactly the type of problem we help clients solve every day at NuWash. NSAW is a fantastic tool to utilize that. If you'd like, as I shared, a tailored review of your environment, click on the QR code. Feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or via email. Happy to take a look and give you a clear recommendation on what's possible. Thanks again for spending time with us today, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Sama, thanks again. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
See you guys.